Welcome, Solarah here. I hope you guys are doing well today. I'm back with a lot of downloads. Show you my notebook. A lot of downloads. I don't know if I'm going to get into all of them. I also have downloads that I've been guided to kind of do shorter reads on. So if I get around to doing them later, I'll do those also. But I think this is going to be a longer read. So if you know anything about me, you know I am verbose. So grab a beverage and chill out while we take this journey together. So before I get into anything, I want to first and foremost thank you all for being here. Thank you to those of you who've shown so much love and support. I really do appreciate all the ways you guys appreciate me. Thank you for your donations, your generous donations. Thank you to those of you who are coming to tomorrow's Road Back to Wholeness, a small group session with me. I think we have one ticket left for tomorrow. If you're still interested, I'll put the information for that below. I will also be doing the same small group session again in the last weekend of April, so Saturday, April the 27th. And because some of you have come back and said to me that Saturdays are not wonderful, when I redo the groups next month in May, I will do one on a Saturday and one on a Sunday, because I've had mixed reviews. I've had some people say they can't do Sundays and some people say they can't do Saturdays. So I shifted it to Saturday for the month of April, but for the month of May, I will do one group on a Saturday and one group on a Sunday to make sure I cover all my bases. I like to keep these groups on a weekend because of the time difference and to, make it more accessible to people. So there is one more placement for tomorrow. I think there's still, for the Saturday the 27th, it's still pretty wide open. And the Tarotstrology group Q&A on Sunday, March the 28th, there's still a lot of spaces available. So if you're interested in joining us for any of those gatherings, please feel free to check out the links below and book, and all information about what those things entail, what those meetings, groups entail, what you're going to be getting out of me in the group. It's all listed through the links that I will provide in the description box below and the comment section. So I'm hoping today it's going to be a little bit quieter. Like I said yesterday, I might be showing up here a little bit more doing blackout messages because I am in my own personal time of transition in my living situation. So please bear with me. I'm trying to show up here more regularly, or no, I'm not trying. I don't like to strive or push past divine timing, but it feels like it's time to be more active on here again, only because the messages that have been coming through, the things that I've been channeling, it feels like they are here for this channel, as well as, of course, those of you who join me over on Daily Alchemy, where I write there, almost daily. So anyway, welcome if you're visiting for the first time. If you were attracted by the title, I invite you to stay and see if you're vibing with any of the messages I have, the guidance I've been sent to share with the collective, and more importantly, if you're vibing with me and my frequency, because that's going to be integral whenever you're dealing with energy work, and everything is energy. If you want to maximize your potential, you need to be in alignment. So being in alignment with those we listen to, those that we are taking in information from, it's really important that we're in alignment not only with what they're saying, but their frequency. And what I mean by that is, if for whatever reason you don't like me, and you're more than entitled not to, we're not here to like everyone. I don't like everyone either. It's fine. I invite you to trust the power of divine timing and alignment to bring to you the message through a person who is in alignment with your frequency. And when you make that choice to honor your truth, the door to that will open. Okay, so welcome if you are returning, if you are a subscriber over here, or if you just come in and watch the videos. Either way, you are welcome here. Yeah, and thank you for all the ways you guys support me across platforms. On this channel, my other channel, Solarah Rises, where I do Tarotstrology, and my newer channel, Daily Alchemy with Solarah, where, I I post some of my audio versions of the writings I do on Substack kind of sparingly right now. And then, of course, my Substack crew. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get into this because I've got a lot of messages today. And one of the main, let's see, so much. Let me see. This is an overall message that's about something that I have been noticing through this recent purging cycle. And so there is an ongoing story in the spiritual community. It's been going on for, as long as you've been connected to on this journey and listening to tarot and energy readings. I'm sure this theme has come across your way in some way, shape, or form, and that is the pursuit of the divine feminine in order to take from her without replenishing. And when I'm speaking of divine feminine, yes, I'm speaking about those women who identify as being in alignment as awakened women, who are in tune with the beauty of their feminine energy. Those are oftentimes your intuitives, your healers, your shamans, etc. But I'm also speaking about the divine feminine energy that, irregardless of who we are in terms of our gender or whether we even ascribe to gender, we all have it because it's part of the polar energies that make us whole, right? Our masculine and our feminine, our dark and our light, our yin and our yang, however you want to look at it. So there's been an attack against the divine feminine principles that have manifested in all manner of ways, but within the spiritual community, once ascension began to take off, there was also this pursuit of these energies, these beings wanting to connect either with your divine feminine energy as a person, or if you are a woman and you are also physically embodying that energy, to connect and to attach to you for those reasons too. And with that being said, there's been a lot of, and I'm going for the purpose of this message, excuse me, I'm going to focus on the women who are embodying this divine feminine wisdom. But please feel free, if you are a man or if you don't identify with those gender constructs, feel free to apply this message for yourself where you want to, because it still is applicable to everyone. It's just easier for me to not have to keep on explaining that. So I'm going to speak about it as if I'm speaking only about it occurring through awakened women. Okay? I hope that makes sense. It will as we unfold this, okay? So there has been, through this ascension window, and I've seen it pick up a lot more recently in the spiritual community, there was a desire to latch on to divine feminine energy. Any of you who've been on the quote-unquote twin flame journey, and you know how I feel about that label and most labels, you know that there has been a constant attack against divine feminine energy, divine feminine principles. Even, I want to say, this last surge of attacks that really picked up in the fall of 2023 through the end of Libra and Scorpio season began, like October, November of last year, there was a real launch very specifically against the divine feminine energy, nature, and then those women who are awakened and embody that. Now, the divine feminine energy is what connects us to our ability to be who we are cosmologically. The divine feminine energy is how we connect to our intuition. It's how we connect to our divine wisdom. It's how we connect to our emotions. It's how we therefore also connect to the seasons and the cycles that support our wholeness as individuals, as well as the excuse me, the seasons and the cycles and the changes on the earth plane that support it being in harmony. Those things are accessed by way of divine feminine energy and principles, and you could even say courtesy of the Divine Mother. So when I say that, you can see how and why, considering the distortions of the false matrix that we are exiting, you can see why the attack against that energy has always been very real. And, you know, everything in the false matrix was catered towards keeping that divine feminine energy and principle on lock. And so as we've moved through ascension, and these things had to come up to be purged and to be seen and to be acknowledged so that we could close the cycle out and move to and become aware, and therefore in our awareness and consciousness create new cycles. Because I had to come into awareness in the past couple of years, the attacks against the divine feminine became very, very blatantly real, especially for those of you who found yourselves, you know, on what they call the twin flame journey, whether you still subscribe to that or whether that was your introduction into, or not even your introduction, but a way you were activated, because really that's what, you know, that's what that journey is really here to help us accomplish initially. So that became very real. Okay, so in other words, the false matrix couldn't survive and prosper for as long as we were connected intuitively to our truth and all of the things cosmically that support that. And the divine feminine energy is the one, is how we stream that. Divine feminine energy, if you think about a woman, who is women are the biological reflection of how divine feminine energy works. A woman holds an egg that is able to bring forth creation when it's activated by the male energy, which of course is the sperm. But then it's the woman who brings that, cultivates that through the gestational period and brings it to life. She is a birther. She is the provider of the genetic material that the male comes and he brings his own genetic material to activate that, but she has carried that information across generations. And what I mean by that is that if you are born a woman, the eggs that you have grew within your mother. So you carry information within your own eggs that connect you to your mother and therefore to your grandmother, because it's the same for her, and so on. Okay, so that female energy is what connects us to the chain of bringing all things into existence. So it's very, very powerful when it's utilized in accordance with its strength. It's also very, very powerful when it's utilized to birth distortions. I've often said before, I'm not a feminist. I don't even like that word or terminology. I've never vibed with it. In fact, up until a few years ago, my quote unquote ministry was more about elevating men, and now it's just about elevating humanity. So the whole, I don't say this because I have some kind of agenda, because I know that some beings will say, oh, it's because you're a woman that you, no, it's not that at all. It's not that at all. Because this feminine energy can present itself and manifest itself very, very powerfully and strongly in men as well. Okay, so like I was saying before, so the reason why the matrix, the false matrix system, wanted that energy completely silenced, bounded, under control, imprisoned, and most of its systems, including marriage, where a woman becomes the property of her husband, right? And you can say, oh, we don't do that anymore. Okay, well, why do women then take a man's name? Everything is energy. When you take the name of something or someone else, you are placing that energy's authority over you. Okay, so all of this was initially designed to trap the divine feminine principle on all levels, including how it flows through us as women biologically. Now, as ascension has continued to unroll, And there's been an interest and an awareness globally and collectively about the rise of the divine feminine, and there's been a lot of commercialism around that. There's also been, a whole other level of parasitic energies that have wanted to benefit from this energy. And again, it can be in a woman, it can be in anyone. It's that intuitive energy that connects us to the earth and actually is what provides us with the resources that are a gift from the Divine Mother. The Divine Mother is who connects us to our resources. The Divine Father principle is who or what connects us to our identity. If you want to look at it through the process of those energies, right? And then you have Source, which is like the all. So there's no gender, there's no division. It's just everything. What was I saying? So the Divine Mother is the principal player in how we connect with our resources. It's why we call the earth our mother. It's why the earth is feminine energy, because the resources on the earth were a gift to all of us. And the resources we have in terms of our gifts, our talents, and how we connect cosmically and cosmologically are our individual gifts that we've been sent on the earth to utilize, to multiply, to grow and share in order to grow self individually, grow one another collectively, and to help the earth to prosper, so that whenever we leave it to our descendants, those who come after us, we leave it in a more bountiful state based upon our bounty, our personal internal bounty that we have maximized and potentialized. We leave the earth in a better state than what we found it in, okay? Because this is our home, and these are our gifts, okay, that were stolen from us. So for this reason, the divine feminine energy connects us to what is necessary for the sustenance of harmony on the earth, and all of the true programs that support and sustain our divine power and truth. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip because my throat today is interesting. Okay, so since it's become more commercial, this idea of the divine feminine rising, that parasitic desire to cling to people who have that energy has grown. There's been a fetishizing in the spiritual community of female healers and medicine women, okay? There have been men, very specifically men, as well as women, but very, the way I've experienced it, and the way I've seen it, and the way clients have shown it to me also for them. There's been a lot of men within the spiritual community that have been preying on this divine feminine mother energy within women. And what do I mean by that? The whole false twin flame phenomenon, where people had these men coming to them where they thought that, and again, if this goes for you the other way around and you're a man, please take it as it resonates. But they had these men pursuing them and making it seem as if they were spiritually aligned, and when they get together with them, then they realize that they're being harvested, right? And that was intentional, maybe not always conscious, because there's a difference, but it was an intentional part of the programming, of the false matrix programming, that was designed to interject and to slow down the process of the divine feminine energy rising. Because as above, so below, as within, so without, as the divine feminine principle rises through us as people, the divine mother reclaims her place of on the earth planes, which means that we get back what it is that was taken from us through the false matrix. So at every turn, the need to keep the divine feminine on lock and to slow down her progress through ascension has been the main focus. through this eclipse window, and I don't even want to say it's the eclipse that occurred on Monday or even the one that happened 2 weeks ago. I want to take you back to eclipse season last October, because that was when a lot of the fight against the divine feminine energy and principles began to kick up. And it began to kick up because it was really important for us to get to the level where we would be purging these root energies that had opened us up, opened us all up to be attached to begin with. These parasitic energies, their nest, their eggs, you could say. And so the only way to recognize what has been silently and invisibly running your reality is for that thing that was invisible and silent to make itself known. So a lot of what we've been dealing with, especially over the past few years, yeah, we've been dealing with attacking energies, absolutely, but they also were our activations, because they were designed for us to actually, finally, consciously come in contact with and see what it was that had been running the show behind the curtains, silently, covertly, invisibly. We were actually now able to kind of participate in the things that had been our destruction, but we could now see it playing out for what it was, if that makes sense. And that's an integral part to the clearing of an energy, because when an energy begins to make itself known that was once invisible, covert, silently doing these things behind the scenes, when it begins to make itself known, that's showing you, it's giving you the opportunity to kick it to the curb. It's time for it to exit stage left, right? So through this eclipse window that began last October, September, October, I forget now exactly when, the fires were raised in many ways. The fires were raised in order for the purge to intensify, because it was time. And they're giving me right now the analogy of a fever, right? So fevers are not comfortable, but they are the body's way of making the environment inhospitable to whatever invader is trying to make its home within you. So the whole point of a fever, it occurs when a bacteria or a virus enters into the body, a foreign pathogen that's not supposed to be there, and therefore is going to compromise the natural ecosystems within your own body. Your body will, as a safety and a protective mechanism, will raise the temperature, because most of the time these bacteria, viruses, foreign invaders cannot survive certain levels of heat. Okay, now I've spoken about this in another video. In Western medicine, in the false matrix constructs that were designed to keep us dying and in death, destruction cycles, sick, degenerating, all of that, they would tell us to take fever reducer, which actually what that then did was whatever pathogen had entered the body, whatever invading energy had come into your fields, into your body, now by reducing the temperature and not letting the body sufficiently fight, what it does is it opens the door up to make your body home and welcome to this energy, because it's still there. You're not fighting it, and there's no temperature raising to kick it out. And you do that enough, it creates a pattern that opens you up later on to the building of disease, because by the time we get diagnosed with something in the false matrix system, it's been growing. It's not something that all of a sudden manifests out of nothing. It is a reflection of a building energy. And one way that has contributed, there's so many ways we were programmed into our own destruction, into the layering of sickness, death, destruction, degeneration, and that's just one way. So I say that because what was occurring through this 6-month cycle that began last October, September, and culminated with Monday's total solar eclipse, was this raising of the temperature, where it may have become very uncomfortable, but at the same time it was necessary in order to purge and to deeper reveal the foreign energies, the energies that don't belong in your reality, that have been running the show, and it's time for them to hit the road, Jack, right? So through the eclipse that occurred on Monday, there was a grand fleshing out, and I spoke about that too. Now, why is all of this important? It's important because just because parasitic energies have been revealed for what they are doesn't mean they're not still lurking, doesn't mean they're not still trying. And so I've noticed that there's been a shift in how we interact with them now, meaning that once upon a time, those energies were not easy to discern, and through this eclipse, it's almost like there's been a whole other sweeping away of a veil, and we're getting to the point where the true motives and intentions of beings that come into our fields, if the truth of who we are doesn't support what it is that they're trying to bring, it's almost an instantaneous repulsion. Energetically, we feel it, we sense it. That has really kicked up more. In other words, our protective mechanisms for what it is that we are magnetizing, or not even magnetizing at this point, because once upon a time we were magnetizing certain things based upon the hidden energies within our own fields that we weren't aware of. Now it's more like these energies trying to push a false magnetism. Okay, and what do I mean by that? I mean that whole story that I was sharing before with these energies that would come towards, especially with divine feminine, with women, these men that would try to come and create these romantic stories in order to attach to your womb energy, your sacral energy, your divine connective energy. That was a forced agenda that a lot of us fell for, because at the time we were still dealing with our own woundedness, our own rejection, our own issues around love, but also we were not aware that underneath all of that there were entities and energies that kept that thing alive. We had maybe we had some kind of conscious awareness, but not to the point that we have now, which is, there's so much I want to get into today, and I hope that I am explaining this in a way that makes sense, because it's a lot, right? So I'm going to take a slight detour to come right back to what it is I'm talking about. So for those of you who've been rolling with me for a while, you'll know that as much as I love spirituality and this is kind of what I do, I am professionally qualified in holistic and naturopathic modes of healing, right? That's what I decided to put my work towards. And so, of course, everything works together. And on this journey, I recognized that the reason I'd been drawn to that in the first place was because of who it is I am on this ascension, and how I am here to facilitate those beings who are ready to access their wholeness. And your wholeness is getting back the parts of you that have been under a foreign authority on all planes. So spiritually, etherically, astrally, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So the spiritually, astrally, etherically, you kind of know all the fuckery that was occurring in order to keep us out of alignment on those planes, right? But mentally, it's all of the programs that we've been taught it's the right way to think, or we've been taught how to think in ways that go against our true divine nature, to take us out of alignment on the mental planes, and then emotionally we've been traumatized again and again to create triggers, to also create sickness, because sickness is also a manifestation of emotional repression and stagnancy. So on every plane we were taken out of authority over self, and so ascension is about getting back authority over the fullness of your energy on every plane. And the final plane where this will always play itself out is materially. It will play itself out through your body. It will play itself out through your exchanges. It will play itself out through money, housing. All of those things are how these things will play themselves out materially when it's time for them to completely exit for good, okay? And for the new story materially to begin to unfold in your reality. Now, I say all of that because I've been in this very deep phase of reconnecting with my body and grounding the fullness of my energy across all planes back into my body. Okay, and so I've been drawing on a lot of the wisdom that I have accrued over the years based upon, professional studies, etc., because and finding that what didn't make sense to me before is making sense to me now because of what I've gone through on this ascension process. And one thing I've been very, very interested in, and it's been a point of interest for many years, but I go back and forth with it, and I've been very drawn into it again, is this whole idea around the parasites that exist within our body, and how really, when you think about it, illnesses, viruses, cancers, all these things are foreign invaders, and they oftentimes, if you study holistic health, functional medicine, or nutrition, you will often come to learn, or herbalism is another one. I'm trained in Western herbal medicine. You will often come to learn that a lot of things that are the root of pathologies are based upon parasites, fungi, molds, and then the toxins they produce by being in your body. And Western medicine likes to poo-poo on that, or liked to up until recently. And now, science is seeing, or they're finally writing about and noticing that some cancers respond very well to anti-parasitic and antifungal preparations. And again, that's because the root issue of what allowed the cancer to proliferate in the body to begin with can often be traced back to some kind of parasite, fungus, mold, and then the growing of the toxins that supported those things being in the body then open the gateway to the diseases that we then like to be so aggressive with and fight by killing all of our cells, etc., when really we need to get to the root issue. Now, what's really interesting about this, and it's going to take us back to a lot of what I've been talking about on this channel from the time I began it, was how microbes talk to one another and how much they have an effect on us in different ways. So I was reading just last night about how certain parasites and microbes can take control of how you think about yourself, to the point where you are actually thinking with the consciousness of that parasite and that microbe, and you're not aware of it. So what does that mean? Okay, so if you are a person, for example, who thinks you have a sugar addiction and you can't kick the sugar, and of course the way that you deal with those kinds of things in the matrix is to restrict and to beat yourself up and to make yourself feel like you have no self-control and yada yada yada, which then only opens a door to you pursuing that path even more, right? Well, because it gets you stuck in a vicious cycle. Well, what if your desire for that sugar is based upon a microbe, a bacteria, a parasite that needs that sugar to thrive, and what you're being directed by that entity as opposed to who you are truly when that entity, microbe, bacteria, parasite, whatever it is, isn't in your fields? Do you see how you can be unconsciously driven in such a powerful way to actually work against yourself and to feed the energy of an external entity living through you and off of you? Okay, now what's really interesting about that is because of how we've lived, we all have these microbes. We have a balance of harmful organisms that live within us, and then we have beneficial organisms. And these organisms are all talking to one another, not only within our own, what we call microbiome, but they are actually interfacing and having conversations with the microbes that are within other beings. Now, this is where I found it so interesting. So literally, a lot of the time, what we're attracted to is based upon the microbes that are inhabiting us physically. We are attracted to other people microbially. Now, take this another level. If you are attracted to a person microbially and you are full of energies, parasites, whatever it is you want to call it, that have been running your show, and you struggle with addiction, sugar cravings, gut issues, however far along you are in this process and what it has therefore accrued in your reality, you know, the pathology of how the disease has grown in your existence, then those microbes are calling into your reality through other beings, their microbial match. I hope that makes sense, because when I began to, and I'd read about this years ago and it kind of went over my head, but everything comes back around when it's supposed to, right? So, when you begin to realize that, you see why we are at a point, many of you are at a point where you have been called into this place of taking back the authority over your own body from these physical external energies that have been having a heyday, and the whole time you thought it was sickness, when really at the root of it were these invading energies. Why is this important? Because once upon a time, for those of you who are doing that clearing and that purging work, or have done it in the past, or being called to it, because we all will eventually, and when it's time, it's time. You know, this is not an issue of fear mongering. If you haven't done it yet, it just means that it's coming up for you, and when it's coming up for you, there will be no fear around it, because you will be taken through it because it's time for you. Okay, just like everyone else. On this journey, there should be, if there's a lot of fear around something, then either you're not ready for it, or there's something externally that needs to be dealt with to make you feel more secure. Because if you don't enter into doing things, even good things for yourself, from a point of power and security, it's not as effective, which is a whole other story. But if you've been doing a lot of this physical purging, you've been called, and I know a lot of you have, you've reached out to me and you've told me this also, that is because you are being readied to be a microbial match with those who share the beneficial microbes that are really important for your own further evolution in the new earth, or in your higher timelines, however you want to look at it. Okay, so that's how deep this thing ran. Like the false matrix programs, they were designed to mess with your health to the point where you were being energy harvested through your physical body. That's what was producing illness, and not only that, but it was calling in energies that connected with the microbes that supported your death, which is why a lot of the karmic relationships, like I said, these things work on all planes and all tiers, and the last thing to be purged will always be materially. So things are leaving through the body right now in order to bring you back into proper balance within your proper biochemical balance, the biochemistry that supports your own power, but also your own regeneration and divine truth, so that now the microbes that live within you, the beneficial ones, are calling in things that are beneficial to you. And as such, when these energies that once upon a time could easily prey on you because maybe you had woundings, that would be the emotional plane, maybe you still had programming around love, or programming based upon your woundedness that was still existing on the mental planes, or maybe you still had people fucking with you, sending you spells, and messing with you from the spiritual planes, that then filters all the way down. Either way, the focus, I just lost my train of thought, my apologies, but the focus right now for many of you is going to be clearing out how that came to be materially, how that came to manifest itself in your physical body and therefore your material truth. Okay, so now I think I got it back. Now when beings come to you and you've done such profound and thorough clearing, you know who you are mentally. You've dealt with the spiritual fuckery that was designed to kind of mask your spiritual truth. You've cleared away those cobwebs. You've connected with the truth of who you are. Mentally, you know. There's no one that can come to you and say to you something that's not true about yourself without alarm bells going off. And then you've dealt with the emotional energies, the triggers, the patterns, the behaviors, and you've dealt with the energies, the external energies that were designed to constantly keep your nervous system in fight or flight, right? And so now you're not so easily duped, mentally or emotionally, right? So a person can't come and try to persuade you that they're right for you when the things they say about you don't line up with who you know you are, or the way they make you feel doesn't line up with who you say you are. Now, for some of you, your own microbiome now is going to start rejecting them. And this can happen in a lot of ways. And maybe it's already been happening and you didn't know. When you begin to clear energies out of your body that were supporting your own demise, dysfunction, disease, degeneration, when you try to clear these things out and then you reintroduce them, your body will react and reject very, very quickly. Because, in holistic nutrition or functional nutrition and medicine, there's this thing called an elimination diet, right? So if you are not able to go and get yourself properly tested and find out if you have issues with certain allergens, then the next thing to do to support yourself so you can intuitively figure things out is to clear your diet of all the main allergens. So the main allergens are gluten, dairy, eggs, soy. For some people, they've got to go farther and move out, like nightshades, lectin foods. It depends on where you are on your journey, right? But the truth of the matter is that there are some foods that your body shouldn't reject. It's because of the toxin load, and then you have to kind of recorrect that balance, because technically there's no food that Mother Nature, the Divine Mother, has provided for us that our bodies should react. So when we start to have these allergies, it's either there's a problem with the body or there's a problem with the food, or both. And so some of these foods hold like mycotoxins and all other manner of things, but in divine alignment and truth, your body shouldn't reject natural foods. There's an issue that needs to be addressed, okay? So when you go through an elimination diet, you get rid of all things, and then you begin to introduce one thing at a time every 2 or 3 weeks. And that would be minimal. Some people take longer. So for example, if you have eliminated all of those things I said, and now you want to start trying nightshades. You might have a potato and then see how does your body react to it. Is this the issue? If it's not an issue, you won't have an instant flare or reaction. But if it was one of the issues that were contributing to whatever way the symptoms were manifesting in your body, then the way your body responds is going to be a lot more violent. It's the way the symptom is presented, right? So an example of this is I gave up gluten. I've been gluten-free for many, many years, but I like gluten, right? So, I mean, who doesn't? And so a few Christmases ago, someone gave me shortbread, and I love shortbread. And I was just like, oh, you know, I've been doing really well. I've been, you know, I've been feeling really good. Let me try some shortbread. And I had, you know, one cookie, and instantly I felt nothing. So I ate, you know, I probably ended up eating the whole pack over 2 days, right? And so on the third day, all of a sudden, my whole bottom of my spine was on fire. I couldn't move. And I realized then, had I not given up gluten when I had, I probably would have opened the door to some kind of autoimmune disease. Now, here's the thing. For many years, I ate gluten and I didn't have those kinds of painful reactions, but I was having things occurring in my body slowly that were creating issues, right? But once I eliminated it out of my body and my body came back into the harmony it needed to be in, now that thing that my body didn't like was no longer there. Almost the minute I introduced it, there was a violent presentation of symptoms that I hadn't had all those years where I was eating it regularly. It's like the old story of when you put the frog in the cold water and you turn the water up, right? If you were to take a frog and put it in a boiling pot of water, it's going to feel that, and it's going to. But if you put a frog in cold water and you turn the heat up until it's boiling, it's not going to know until the very last minute what's going on. That's kind of what it is with our bodies, with things that they don't like. Like, there are things that are occurring. The water is heating up, but we're not feeling it, oftentimes until it's too late. So anyway, I say all of that because the more you come back into your own energy, the more that these things that never actually aligned with your truth and who you are and your power will be rejected, and they will be rejected from you quite violently, meaning that your repulsion to those things will be increased. For some of you, literally, there are people who will come into your fields now and they will make you feel sick. And this is not me, you know, being funny or me being mean, because you know, every being has the right to, has the right to be who they are. Absolutely, that's what ascension is about. But not all beings are right for you, and not everyone is compatible with you. And so the Matrix, through its quantum entanglement programs, including how we were designed to take on microbes that were working against us in all areas of our lives, right? Including the people we were calling in, friends, romance, all of that stuff. I lost my thought again, my goodness. I'll get it back. Let me look at my notes. Anyway, those quantum entanglement programs are phasing out on every level, and this is another level. So when parasitic energies and the programs they are running in people, they try to access you now in any way, they're shown for what they are almost immediately. There's an immediate repulsion. And what that is also showing you is what we were talking about yesterday with that whole idea of ultramagnetism message that was coming through that black neuron star energy. And that is that when you come back into alignment on all planes with who you are, and you anchor yourself into your frequency, your true electromagnetic settings come back into play. And so now you begin to magnetize the things that actually sustain your truth, and you push out and you repel those things that don't support that. Okay, and that was always a natural mechanism. It was your birthright, but through the programs, the systems of the false matrix, you were disconnected from that and plugged into these false agendas that supported you constantly calling in things that supported your destruction. In other words, your electromagnetic settings on all planes, because your electromagnetic settings connect you to all planes, the spiritual, etheric, astral planes, mental planes, emotional planes, and these here material planes, as well as even below all of this, like energetically speaking. Your electromagnetic frequency connects you on all planes. And so, I keep on being messed with today, and it's okay, because I mean, I know why, but all of those energies that had you connected to things on those planes that were supporting your destruction have been unplugged. Okay, so there were colony connections. So when you think about microbes, they form colonies. They come together in groups and they multiply, right? They form colonies. And it's through these colonies even that they were interfacing with other beings, and the colonies, the things that colonized them internally. These colony connections are disconnecting. And as you do the work to assist the clearing of them out on all planes, they cannot come back to life, because the very structures, systems, programs, settings that supported them are no longer in existence. And the only way they can run is if you, on an personal, autonomous level, choose to allow it to run. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And that's not as simple as, I know it's not as simple as like, I'm not going to do this anymore, but I want you to know that the freedom for all beings to do that is there. Okay, and I'm not going to get into the logistics of the hows, because that's a whole other explorative journey that we're all here to go through individually. And yes, we can get external guidance and help, and this is what I have created my groups for, the Road Back to Wholeness. And even those of you who join me on Substack get an opportunity to have a monthly Q&A with me. So those kinds of things, that's where I go into those individual questions there, okay? Because it is very individually based. So what this also means is that there are no more opportunities to force false intimacy and fake connection. So all of this was what kept together this this complex and this structure that supported quantum entanglement, constant karmic cycles, constant karmic interactions, and then later on in ascension within the realms of the spiritual community, these beings that were being opportunistic with the divine feminine energy. Okay, as you continue to do the purging that this eclipse window has made possible for you to really activate and work through, the opportunities for that kind of energy dwindling, because your true electromagnetic settings are coming back to support your truth, support your regeneration, your ability to connect with your so-called supernatural abilities, your ability to connect with your true divine contracts. I hope I'm making sense, because it's a lot here, and I'm not even going to get into everything today because it's too much. So what this means is that there's also the closing out for you, if this is your message, the closing out of lust-based, inorganic alliances, their nest and feeding cycles. So a lot of what has been occurring through this, the energies I was speaking about at the beginning. The energies I was speaking about at the beginning was this fetishizing of the feminine healing energy that has been happening. The desire to control it, the desire to own it, the desire to have it, and then for some beings even the desire to connect with the sexual alchemy that is born by way of the divine feminine energy. Okay, and those lust-based endeavors, and lust will always be rooted in wounded patterns and stories, right? So beings who want to connect to other beings, even if it's sexually, from a place of distorted energies. So a need for just self-gratification without real care and value for another is really what it often will come down. Care and value for who they really are past what it is you want to take from them. That's that's the premise of lust, right? And so it hides, and it's very sneaky in very many different ways. So for example, I've had men come to me over, especially in this time of ascension over the past couple of years, I've had men come into my fields who because I carry very strong Divine Mother codes that are here to help heal people of the mother wound, biologically, but more importantly, the wound that is a result of the false matrix program, because that's the ultimate false mother, right? That's part of my energy signature. So I have men who are very drawn to me because they sense that healing energy. They're even drawn to me because part of them, want me to mother them, and then the minute they're no longer feeling good in my energy because I hit on a truth or something is magnified or illuminated through the healing process, which is the point, right? The point is to help you to see the shadows that bind you, the things that are binding you out of your wholeness. The minute they start to connect with that and see that, then they will all of a sudden become like a viper. They'll try to project their shit onto me. They'll try to make it seem as if I'm a problem. They'll try to make it seem as if all of a sudden the very spiritual lessons and wisdom that they kept on coming to me for is all woo-woo. Anything in any way to kind of deflect from the process of dealing and going deeper into really cleaning out the wound that that I was placed on their path to kind of illuminate, okay? And this a lot of the time happens energetically. It's not even like an exchange of conversation. It's purely energetic, and I see the shift. And I've learned how to discern that in men who come to me on an energetic level before they say anything to me. I know that they have a neediness and they have a desire to heal a deep childhood wound, and they're not emotionally balanced or prepared enough to do the work. And so all they're going to try to do is drag me and to use my energy to kind of punish me for the ways that they still have hatred or angst against their own mothers, against the things that have occurred for them through the false matrix cycle. And so that's kind of, there's a lust and a desire for my healing energy, but only for as long as it's comfortable, right? So that's how it's played out. That's one way it's played out for me as a divine feminine, okay? So there are many of them that would try to attach in order to punish their mother through you. And those people, those beings they have a resentful inner child, right? They have a resentful inner child. The inner child is resentful of the treatment that they have received and the lack of justice that has come forth. And instead of dealing with that resentful inner child, they take that resentment and they project it onto women. They would project it onto me. But when really what they need to do is to connect with the inner child and to connect with that story of resentment, because it's justified. The resentment is justified. The expression of it on an innocent non-player in the story is unjustified. That can then become a form of energy harvesting, because you're seeking to, instead of deal with the issue, that to deal with your own emotions and regulate yourself, instead of doing that, you're trying to pull someone else down with you because of your own resentment towards a completely different entity or energy. So what I've noticed in this shift recently in this behavior is that once upon a time, these beings, these energies, the entities and the programs that ran them, because there's always an entity in a program that runs it. That's not the true nature of the person in divine alignment. That's a parasite, an entity, a program on some levels still, or on all levels, still conjoining and colonizing them to run their programs and to survive through this person's energy field. What I've noticed is that before the attempts were to attach very much to the divine feminine for sacral energies, but I've noticed recently a shift in the desire to connect to the solar plexus, and that is because these are the people who want you to mother them. So they might not come out as being completely very sexual like other beings, very strong sexual magnetism, sexual energy. This is more this neediness that they have, and the minute that you don't fulfill it in some way, shape, or form in accordance with how it is they want you to, then that resentful inner child begins to flare up. Okay, so it's been more solar plexus, and it makes sense because the solar plexus energy is very connected to the golden energies of this age, and us being able to reconnect with our golden codes and take them back. So for a lot of you, when you are dealing with this energy, just be aware that it's going to want to either connect with your solar plexus, in other words, try to manipulate your personal will and how you move materially, right? And it will often be manifested in another party through like this inner child, it's because it's not, it will be for some resentful inner child, but it's just that that the wounded inner child that person is not dealing with, and they want you to therefore take responsibility for. Okay, so okay. So what this is doing, this whole thing we're going through, is that it's closing out the lust-based inorganic alliances, closing out the nest, the eggs, and also the feeding cycles and patterns. So if you want to know more about that, go and research about how parasites live, how they find ways to exist, how their behaviors around nesting and procreating, and how they then create the cycles that support their ability to thrive at the expense and the cost of others. There's such a thing as a symbiotic relationship. So with the good bacteria, you have a symbiotic relationship, meaning that you nourish the good bacteria and the good bacteria nourish you. With, these parasitic energies and entities, they always will take and steal from your vitality and steal from your life force, whether they are operating in your body through sickness, or whether they're operating through the program still running people who want to take from your peace, take from your groundedness, take from your wealth, your energetic wealth. So what this is also closing the door on, as you continue to purge and be fully aware of this, and you notice your own electromagnetic body strengthening to the point where your natural defense and protective mechanisms that are your true birthrights, that are gifts from both the Divine Father and Mother, return. Your intuition is a gift from the Divine Mother to protect you, right? And the protective energies from the Divine Father too. It's there to protect you. Your electromagnetic energies, when they're properly online, work to the point where your intuition doesn't have to be activated when you are in proper alignment. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you are properly rooted in your true frequency, your energy naturally repels that which isn't good for you. Right now, up until this point, we've still been dealing with things coming into our fields, and then our radar goes off because our intuition is showing us something. But ideally, when you are operating in alignment and you're in your power, those things won't even have the opportunity to get that close to you energetically, where your intuition has to go off, at least not as much as it has been through this ascension. What this is also opening the door up for is that there's no more transactional credit debit based relationships. That is the credit debit system that also created our financial structures, was very rooted in the energy harvesting templates that were necessary to maintain the false matrix. We're not here to live transactionally, we're here to live from a place of true reciprocity, and true reciprocity can only occur from beings and amongst beings who are holding their true frequency, okay, instead of harvesting off the energy of others to get what they should be supplying for themselves. So the whole credit debit system on all levels and planes in the false matrix was created to keep some in debt or indebted and others being creditors, so that nobody was really on equal footing. It was designed to keep your energy field and your electromagnetic system functioning through imbalance, lack, and what was the word they just gave me? And distortions, really. Okay, so this is really ultimately about, knowing thyself. We hear that all the time, know thyself. That is, I forget the quote, but I'm paraphrasing. It's like, know thyself. Knowing thyself is kind of how you enter into your bliss. It's how you enter into enlightenment, because when you know, gnosis, third eye, when you know yourself on all planes, then you no longer are open to the foreign invading energies that are there just to eat off of you and not to replenish you in any way. And knowing thyself completely, and what I mean by that is knowing who you are cosmologically. That would be the spiritual truth, and that filters into your mental reality the messages that support who you are and your emotional resonance, right? And then that also filters into knowing your own body, knowing what you need, knowing how you work, connecting intuitively with how to heal yourself on all planes. When you have been able to recover that for yourself on a personal level, and for everyone it looks different, right? Then you have re-entered into self-gnosis. You have come back into gnosis of self, right? Even, the word diagnosis is about the knowledge of two, the knowledge of a split. And it could even say that it was propelling that story of keeping you split, a diagnosis, when really you have the gnosis within that allows you to connect with the truth of who you are and what's going on with you on all planes. So the false matrix was designed to keep you ever dependent and codependent, when really you were designed divinely to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining. Okay, so that whole quote that people love to say, no man is an island unto himself. No man, woman, we are not islands, we're whole fucking universes. We are individual universes. Our energy field is a universe, and it connects us with every aspect that exists cosmologically. And when we come together, we create this multiversal experience. But the truth of the matter is that we were created to be completely self-sufficient in terms of how we utilize our energy, so that we don't have to take from others and deplete from others in order to survive, or be depleted by others in order that they can survive. That was all a part of the false matrix, and we're coming back into this place of wholeness, self-sufficiency that then promotes interdependence with one another, where we're also aligning with beings who on all plane represent energetically what it is that we all need from one another to stay in harmony on all levels, including even the microbes that support our inner harmony, our truth, our power, and our regeneration, and therefore our ability to connect with others who share that microbial truth too. Okay, so I know that was a lot, and I hope that I have so much here that I didn't get into, but because it's been so intense, I hope that it makes sense. I think it makes sense to whoever needs the confirmation. That would be my hope. So another thing that's been coming through is that we are really dealing with a lot of dragon heart activations right now. And the dragon heart activations are occurring to bring us back online with, again, our true colony, our true tribe, based upon our full energetic alignment back into the truth of who we are without these parasitic energies, entities, and the programs that sustain their ability to run our shows behind the scenes. So I'm just going to go into my dragon deck, and I'm going to close this out. 2 have come out. We have the Sunshine Yellow Dragon, helps you to help animals, serve animals, heal, respect, and understand them. So this again is, sunshine energy, solar energy. It's speaking again about our reconnection with all things on the earth plane, all consciousnesses on the earth plane that promote our harmony. And somebody was saying in my video from last night, I haven't gotten back to all the comments yet, but I was reading some of them this morning, and someone was saying how we have grown up in a world where we're told that rocks don't have a consciousness and plants don't have a consciousness, and that's ultimately to continue the energy harvesting. So we're constantly taking from these things, and we're not consciously aware of the fact that, for one thing, these minerals and plants, they want to give to us, to harmonize us, but they're not here for us just to take from. So it was there to create this pathology, this psychology where we feel like we're entitled and these things are beneath us or they're below us, when they are the actual riches. They are the things that make us up, and they hold not only consciousness, but they hold all the records that we need to reconnect, to come back into our truth too, right? So there is a very real activation of that's happening right now, and awareness. And for those of you who are already quite aware of this, it's going even deeper. And like I was saying in the video last night, like some of you, it's coming down to the reconnecting with the portals and with the energies on the earth, the mineral energies. Now it's like a plugging in of your energy field back into these certain like energetic ports, right? Okay. Kuan Yin's pink dragon brings firm love that resets your karmic balance. Yeah, so this is all about the resetting of your balance, so that you're no longer calling in things that take you out of harmony or out of peace. Okay? See all your cords dissolve by transcendent love. Enjoy your freedom. Look for the divine around you, right? And that just is making me think also about how much of these beings who've tried to like push their agendas of love on other beings that they're not actually in alignment with, how much of it has to do with this whole love and light thing in spirituality, where everyone believes love and light, you're supposed to be super nice to people and all this other stuff. And I don't want to go in too much into it. I've talked about it before. There's a lot of people talking about it in general, but that whole love and light nonsense in the spiritual community was ultimately designed to keep us from connecting with the wholeness of who we are as destroyer beings also. We're creators and we're destroyers. We're light, we're dark, we're the sun, we're the moon. We are the all. And when you cannot connect with the wholeness of who you are, you do not get all of your power back. You do not anchor yourself in the earth. You do not get your resources, your gifts. You don't get the fullness of it, right? And so that whole love and light thing was designed to do that, and then to further gaslight people into shame and rejection and all manner of things. And it's almost like what I'm getting with this card, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because there is a flushing out of these false light agendas that supported our disharmony, in our disunion, and more programs that were designed to keep us out of wholeness, right? So there's a flushing out of that. And I love this. The black dragon cocoons you so that your divine potential grows. Meditate, reflect, undergo a metamorphosis. So this black dragon energy is deeply protective. It speaks of what it is you need to, it speaks of the times when you're going through major transitions and your energy field is sensitive, and so you are so guarded and protected as you build up your strength and reserves, as you begin to become comfortable. So they're showing me right now like a snake. I don't know much about how snakes go through their shedding process, but I would imagine that just like when they're digesting or when they're laying their eggs, that when they're getting ready to shed their skins, they're probably a lot more vulnerable. And so they seek out places to burrow themselves where they won't be disturbed because they're more vulnerable. They're more vulnerable to predators, etc. It's almost like that. It's like you're going through a shedding of a skin in order to access a higher level of your truth, and in that you're being protected and cocooned through the transition while you're vulnerable, and until you get fully anchored and comfortable in the new frequency or the new resonance or the new cycle. Okay, so a lot of protection here through this process. The Sunshine Yellow Dragon is also speaking to me about getting, more upgrades through solar activity. Get out in the sun, connect with the sun, whether you can do that intentionally outdoors or even connect with more solar energies and herbs. Chamomile, calendula, sunflower, any herbs that... dandelion, it's a great one for this time of the year. Any herbs that have a very bright yellow or orange energy. St. John's wort is another one. They tend to be very connected with solar energies, and they are very powerful to utilize in the recovery of your light body, but also when you're called very specifically to work with energies of the earth to facilitate the activation of solar codes. Working with solar herbs can be a really wonderful thing too. So that's what I have for you. I think I'm going to, it's already an hour and 17 minutes in. I'm going to get going. I so look forward to seeing those of you who are going to be joining me tomorrow for the Road Back to Wholeness small group session. I'm very excited. I have a lot of fun in these small groups. It's also a wonderful time for you to interact with beings who have been hermited also, going through similar things. And like I said in another reading, these groups are always, it always feels like they're so divinely aligned, like the people who need to be there, who need to meet one another, who need to be activated by one another, tend to come together. So I'm excited for the new group of people that are coming forth tomorrow, and for those of you who are interested in the other sessions for the last week of April, those are still open. I look forward to meeting those of you who come there too. And what else? Yes, for all information on how to work one-to-one with me, you can do that by accessing me on my website, solarah.com. I do have all of this information in the description box below. If you would like to donate to the channel or to my work in any way, then you can do so through my PayPal or my Ko-Fi, which is also listed below. For the month of April, I have opened up my 2024 Tarotstrology Ascension Report. It's a 33-page, 34-page PDF file that I put together at the very beginning of the year with all of the energies of 2024. For those of you on Substack, it is still up there. It's in the archive if you don't want but if you want to access the PDF, you can do so also through my Ko-Fi. I have, for the month of April, adjusted that so that it's free. So when you go to my Ko-Fi shop and you open up the 2024 Tarotstrology Ascension Report, you have the option to just put in $0 and you can get it for free, access it right there on the spot. And for those of you who are feeling generous or you want to donate for the exchange, then you can do that too. But I felt it was an important time to give access to that report because a lot of what is happening through this eclipse window a lot of what I write about in that report is being activated through this eclipse window. Okay, so the egg cleansing manual is still up on my Ko-Fi shop also, and it's still available for free or for donation in the same way. You can put in $0 and get access to it immediately if you'd like, or again, if you're feeling generous and you want to give back, you can also choose a donation of your choice for that also. So thank you again for all the ways you've supported me. I hope that my work, this reading, my work in general, is helping to anchor you deeper into your power, into your truth, into your remembrance of who you actually are before the false matrix did everything in its power to make you disassociate and forget. So I'm sending you so much love. I'll be back again soon. I might delve deeper into what I wasn't able to get into today with this message, because there was more. And I also have some shorter readings to do for you, and those might just be blackout. We'll see what happens. But either way, I wish you guys a beautiful rest of your day. Take care.